Close your eyes for a second. Imagine the most perfect predator to ever exist. You probably thought of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, didn't you? Well, you've been lied to. Hollywood sold you a pet, but the reality was much darker. Today, we are traveling to a time when the ocean was a death trap, where the sky could swallow you whole, and where killers existed that made the T-Rex look harmless. Forget everything you learned in school. These are the 6 monsters evolution created when it decided to open the gates of hell. Welcome to the true story of the most terrifying dinosaurs.
Number 1. The River Leviathan.
There are no roars. There are no footsteps shaking the earth. There is only absolute silence and a water surface that looks like a black mirror. The prey, a 5-meter-long sawfish, believes it is the king of these waters. But in a blink, the surface explodes. The violence is so sudden the brain cannot process it. Before the blood turns the river red, the victim's spine has already been snapped in two. This isn't hunting, this is an execution. Welcome to the Cretaceous Hell, 95 million years ago. We are in what is now North Africa, but forget the sand and the desert. At this moment, this is the Kem River system, a network of swamps and mangroves so dense that sunlight barely touches the ground. It is the most dangerous place in the history of Earth. Here, predators do not compete for food, they compete for space. And among all the beasts inhabiting this green labyrinth, there is a shadow stretching 18 meters in length. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was a tank, but this is a biological nuclear submarine. Pop culture lied to us. We were told the Tyrannosaurus Rex was the largest carnivore to ever walk the planet. They were wrong. The Spinosaurus aegyptiacus was not only taller, it was significantly longer and heavier. Imagine an 8-ton beast with a 2-meter sail on its back, cutting the horizon like a giant shark fin. Its bones were dense, like those of a penguin, allowing it to submerge and walk along the riverbed without floating. It didn't need to see you to kill you. It could feel the heartbeat of its prey from the murky water from meters away. If you managed to escape the water, you were not safe. Its front limbs were not the useless little arms of other theropods. They were muscular arms, ending in curved claws 30 centimeters long, designed to hook, tear, and hold slippery prey or butcher rival titans. A single swipe could open the belly of a crocodile as if it were a zipper. The history of this monster is almost as tragic as it is terrifying. The original fossils were destroyed during a bombing in World War II in 1944, turning the beast into a myth until modern science brought the nightmare back to life. The Spinosaurus reigned as the supreme predator of the rivers, an amphibious killing machine with no equal. But while he dominated the waters and the banks, evolution was cooking up something much more sinister in another corner of the world. Something that didn't need to swim or run to be death incarnate. Something that quite simply blocked out the sun with its wings.
Number 2. The Sky God.
Look up. The sky is usually a symbol of freedom, vast and blue. But 66 million years ago in the skies of North America, looking up was a death sentence. A shadow glides over the arid plains, so massive it feels like a storm cloud is passing. But this cloud has eyes and a beak as sharp as a spear. The creatures on the ground freeze, hoping they haven't been seen, but it is already too late. The sky does not belong to birds. It belongs to a dragon that forgot how to breathe fire, but learned how to swallow you whole. Meet the Quetzalcoatlus northropy. To understand the scale of this monster, you have to break your understanding of biology. Imagine a modern giraffe. Now give it a beak spanning 2 meters and wings that stretch from 10 to 12 meters across. That is the size of a fighter jet. Standing on the ground, it was taller than a double-decker bus. When it landed, it looked the Tyrannosaurus Rex in the eye. It is the largest flying animal to ever exist, a biological impossibility that defied gravity with every beat of its wings. For decades, scientists argued about how something this heavy could ever leave the ground. Some said it needed cliffs, others said it couldn't fly at all. They were underestimating the power of its muscles. This titan didn't just flap, it pole vaulted. Using its massive front limbs, it would push against the earth with explosive force, launching 500 pounds of muscle and bone into the air in a single heartbeat. Once airborne, it could cruise at 80 miles per hour, crossing continents without landing. Nowhere was safe. But the true terror wasn't when it was flying, it was when it decided to walk. Unlike other pterosaurs that clumsily waddled, the Quetzalcoatlus was a terrifyingly efficient terrestrial stalker. It moved through the tall grass on 4 limbs, silent and deadly, like a stork from hell. It would snatch baby dinosaurs, small mammals, and anything that fit in its throat. It didn't chew, it didn't tear, it simply tilted its head back and let gravity do the rest. You were alive until you hit the acids of its stomach. The Quetzalcoatlus was the undisputed lord of the skies and a nightmare on the open plains. But it was a solitary killer. It relied on size and intimidation. However, in the dense forests and the shadows of the undergrowth, a different kind of threat was evolving. A threat that didn't rely on size, but on intelligence and coordination. They are small, they are fast, and they never hunt alone. The sky is clear, but the bushes are rustling.
Number 3. The Jurassic Nightmare. You are walking through a fern forest. You hear a snap of a twig to your left. You freeze. You stare into the bushes, and after a moment, you see it. A pair of cold reptilian eyes staring back at you. You smile nervously. It seems manageable. But you made a fatal mistake. You focused on the one you could see. You didn't hear the 2 behind you. By the time you feel the hot breath on your neck, the trap has already snapped shut. Intelligence is a weapon far sharper than teeth. We need to talk about the movies. The velociraptors that terrified you in cinemas were a lie. Real velociraptors were the size of turkeys, but nature did create the monster you saw on screen. It was called Utah raptor. This was the heavyweight champion of the raptor family. 7 meters long, 500 kilograms of muscle, and covered in feathers that didn't make it look cute. They made it look like a mythical griffin. This wasn't a scavenger. It was a bear-sized assassin with the agility of a cat. Every weapon designed by humans has a limit. The Utah raptor's weapon did not. On each foot, it carried a retractable claw, curved like a sickle, measuring over 30 centimeters, that is 12 inches of solid bone. It wasn't designed for slashing skin. It was designed for puncture. The Utah raptor would leap onto the back of a 10-ton herbivore, drive these hooks deep into the flesh to anchor itself, and then start eating the prey while it was still alive. It was a rider of death. What makes the Utah raptor truly terrifying is not just its biology, but its sociology. Fossil evidence suggests they hunted in coordinated packs. Imagine a wolf pack, but each wolf weighs half a ton and armed with switchblades. They could take down prey 10 times their size by overwhelming it with synchronized violence. One distracts, 2 flank, and the alpha delivers the killing blow. There was no chaos in their attack. There was only a bloody, calculated order. The Utah raptor relied on precision, speed, and intelligence. It was the surgeon of the dinosaur world. But precision takes time, and sometimes nature prefers a sledgehammer. While the raptors were slicing with surgical accuracy, another continent was hosting a predator that had no use for strategy. It didn't need to be smart. It just needed to be the biggest meat-eater the world had ever seen. A beast so large it hunted the giants that shook the earth.
Number 4. The Emperor of the Abyss. You thought the king was on land? You were wrong. While the dinosaurs fought for scraps on the continents, 70% of the planet belonged to something else. The footprints we saw in the last episode stop at the shoreline for a reason: fear. The T-Rex might be the tyrant of the earth, but even a tyrant knows not to swim in deep water. Because down here, in the crushing blue silence, there is a pair of eyes watching from the darkness. The true ruler of the Cretaceous didn't need legs. This is the Mosasaurus hoffmanni. Technically, it is not a dinosaur. It is a marine reptile, a cousin of the Komodo dragon, magnified to a terrifying scale. Reaching lengths of up to 18 meters, 60 feet, it was larger than the T-Rex and heavier than the Spinosaurus. It was a leviathan of muscle and thick skin, propelled by a tail that moved like a whip. It was the ultimate biological weapon of the ocean, the end of the food chain. If the size doesn't scare you, its mouth will. The Mosasaurus had a secret weapon straight out of a horror movie: pterygoid teeth. Open the jaw, and behind the main rows of bone-crushing spikes, there is a second set of teeth on the roof of its mouth. These teeth acted like conveyor belts, hooking into prey and ratcheting it down the throat. Once you were bitten, there was no letting go. You weren't just caught, you were swallowed alive by a machine designed to never jam. In the Cretaceous ocean, everything was on the menu: sharks, giant turtles, long-necked plesiosaurs. It didn't matter. Fossil evidence shows that the Mosasaurus fought and ate its own kind. It was a brutal, cannibalistic world where the only thing that could kill a Mosasaurus was a bigger Mosasaurus. It ruled the seas with such absolute power that it forced other predators to go extinct or flee to the shallows. It was the apex of apexes. From the swamps of the Spinosaurus to the skies of the Quetzalcoatlus, and finally to the abyss of the Mosasaurus, the world was once a playground for monsters. We are lucky they are gone, because if these titans were still here today, humans wouldn't be the apex predators, we would be the appetizers. The asteroid didn't just change the climate, it saved us. Sleep well and stay out of the water.
Number 5. The Horned Demon. In the world of giant predators, weight usually comes at the cost of speed. If you hear a T-Rex coming, you might have time to hide. But here, in the arid plains of Argentina, death arrives before the sound does. A small herbivore is grazing. Suddenly, a shape bursts from the tree line. It isn't lumbering, it is sprinting. At 35 miles per hour, this predator moves like a missile. Before the prey can even turn its head, the impact knocks the breath out of its lungs. Face to face with a Carnotaurus, you realize why paleontologists named it the meat-eating bull. It is the only known carnivorous dinosaur with a pair of thick, bony horns protruding from its brow. Combined with a short, deep snout and pebbled, armored skin, the most complete skin impressions we have of any theropod, it looks less like an animal and more like a dragon from a medieval painting. These horns weren't just for show, they were used in violent shoving matches for dominance. This creature was the Ferrari of the Cretaceous. While others were built for endurance, the Carnotaurus was built for explosion. Its tail was rigid, connected to massive thigh muscles, the caudofemoralis, that weighed over 300 pounds each. This gave it the strongest sprinting power of any large dinosaur. It couldn't turn well, but in a straight line, it was unstoppable. If it saw you in the open, you were already dead. If you look closely, you'll see arms so tiny they make the T-Rex's arms look useless, the stygial stubs with 4 useless fingers, but nature compensated. Its jaw was designed to operate like a hatchet. The Carnotaurus didn't have the strongest bite force, but it could open its mouth incredibly wide and slam it down with blinding speed. It didn't crush bone, it inflicted massive trauma to soft tissue, striking again and again like a jackhammer until the prey stopped moving. The Carnotaurus was a specialized sprinter, a demon of speed and spikes. But specialization has its limits. In the brutal game of evolution, sometimes you need a generalist, a creature that is strong, smart, heavily armed, and big enough to challenge the gods. We have seen the swimmer, the flyer, the pack hunter, and the slasher, but now the ground shakes with a rhythm we all recognize. The final boss has entered the chat.
Number 6. The Titan Slayer.
The ground isn't just vibrating, it is jumping. In the dusty plains of prehistoric Patagonia, a shadow stretches across the land, dwarfing the trees. We are looking at a predator that makes the ground tremble with every step. But it is not hunting small game. It is tracking a herd of Argentinosaurus, creatures the size of buildings. To hunt a god, you must be a titan, and this titan is hungry. Meet Giganotosaurus carolini, the southern giant lizard. For a long time, the T-Rex held the crown, but this beast from the south challenged that title. It measured up to 43 feet long and weighed nearly 9 tons. It was longer and taller than its North American cousin. While it had a smaller brain, it didn't need calculus to survive. It needed brute force. It was a mouth with legs, a biological engine designed solely to consume flesh on an industrial scale. The difference between the Giganotosaurus and other megapredators was in the mouth. The T-Rex had bone-crushing bananas for teeth. The Giganotosaurus had steak knives. Its teeth were flat, recurved, and serrated like a saw. It didn't crush, it sliced. When it bit, it pulled back, shearing off pounds of meat in a single motion. It caused massive blood loss, turning its prey into a walking fountain. It was, essentially, a land shark. Its hunting strategy was the stuff of nightmares. It is believed they engaged in flesh grazing. A single Giganotosaurus could not kill a fully grown Argentinosaurus instantly. Instead, they would attack in coordination, slicing off chunks of flesh from the giant's legs and flanks, then backing away. They would let the prey bleed, weaken, and stumble, eating it while it was still walking until it finally collapsed from exhaustion, a slow, grueling death by 1,000 cuts. The Giganotosaurus was a brute, a heavyweight boxer that won through sheer size and blood loss. But evolution is never satisfied with just one design. We have traveled through a world that was not meant for us, a planet ruled by teeth, claws, and unimaginable brutality. From the skies where the Quetzalcoatlus reigned to the dark abysses of the Mosasaurus, one thing is clear: humanity got very lucky. We like to think we're the masters of the earth, but if any of these 6 beasts were still here today, we wouldn't be the apex predators, we would be the appetizer. The asteroid wasn't a disaster, it was our salvation. Now, confess in the comments, which of these nightmares would you be least afraid to meet face to face? If you survived this trip to the past, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next dive into prehistoric darkness. Until next time, and be thankful they are just fossils.